You turn off the faucet. You reach for a towel. You look up to check your reflection, and right there, in the dark glass behind your shoulder, a face begins to materialize. Most people treat Bloody Mary as a childhood game, a story told at sleepovers to see who flinches first. But investigators of the paranormal point to a specific subset of incidents where the ritual appears to function as a documented gateway. In 2004, 3 college students in a small apartment, Rhea, Karin, and Mehul, decided to test the threshold of that legend. They had spent the night debating urban myths until curiosity outweighed their hesitation. They treated the dare as a joke, unaware that the specific parameters of the ritual are designed to create a breach. By the time they stepped into the bathroom, the catalyst for the haunting was already set. The group followed the traditional steps: a pitch-black bathroom, a closed door, and the name spoken 3 times into the void of the mirror. The immediate shift was environmental. The air grew heavy, the temperature plummeted, and a metallic tap began to slowly rotate, releasing a steady, rhythmic drip without anyone touching the handle. Even though the water was cold, a layer of thick condensation began to crawl across the mirror's surface, fogging the glass from edge to edge. A tall, dark shadow with its head tilted at an unnatural angle appeared in the fogged reflection. When the 3 students spun around to face the physical room, the corner was empty. They assumed that because the room was empty, the ritual had failed. They didn't realize that the entity they summoned doesn't manifest in the physical world, it manifests in the reflection, and by turning their backs, they allowed it to follow them out. At 3:03 a.m., Rhea woke to a soft, persistent tapping. When she walked toward the bathroom, she saw the pale woman again. This time, the figure in the mirror was standing significantly closer to her reflection than before. Rhea turned instantly, but the hallway was vacant. When the light flickered on, the mirror was empty of figures, but 2 words had been traced into the moisture: "Look back." The next morning, Rhea discovered 3 red, burning scratches dragged across her shoulder. She had been asleep, yet the marks were fresh, suggesting the entity had gained the ability to exert physical force. The haunting then moved beyond the bathroom. Curran caught a glimpse of a pale face with a tilted head, staring at him from the reflection of a small steel plate. The entity was no longer tethered to the site of the summoning. It had attached itself to the students, moving with them and appearing in any surface capable of showing a reflection. Mehul began scouring folklore records to find a pattern in these sightings. He found that the Bloody Mary phenomenon operates with a predatory internal logic. Once summoned, the entity tracks the victim relentlessly from behind the glass. Any reflective medium, windows, darkened screens, polished metal, becomes a weaponized portal. Sightings follow a strict escalation. The figure appears progressively closer until the third encounter, the point of physical abduction. Rhea's 2 sightings meant she had already exhausted her margin for error. The next time she saw the reflection, the sequence would be complete. At 3 a.m. on the 3rd night, the power failed. In the total darkness of the apartment, Rhea felt the sensation of cold, slow breathing against her ear. She looked across the room at the mirror she had covered for protection. The cloth was moving, sliding down the glass as if an unseen force was pushing it away from the other side. The fabric fell, exposing the glass. In the reflection, Bloody Mary stood directly behind Rhea, her eyes hollow and her mouth stretched open in a silent, wide scream. When the power finally returned, Karan found Rhea paralyzed with fear. But as they searched the locked apartment for the others, they realized Mehul was nowhere to be found. In the bathroom, they found the evidence of what happens when the entity's logic is ignored. 3 wet handprints were pressed against the glass, and beneath them, a final message. She looked back. While Rhea had been the focus of the sightings, Mehul had been the one searching for the entity in the mirrors. By looking back into the reflection to find her, he triggered the final stage of the curse, resulting in his disappearance from the physical apartment. Rhea moved out the next day, covering every mirror in her new home and spending years avoiding her own image. However, the entity isn't limited to traditional mirrors. Recently, while looking at the black screen of her smartphone, Rhea saw the faint silhouette of the tilted head looming in the background darkness. If you wake up at 3 a.m., ignore the impulse to check your surroundings in the dark. Don't look at the window, don't look at your phone screen, and stay away from the bathroom. Once you speak the name and invite the entity in, the reflection is no longer your own.
If you enjoyed this nightmare, subscribe to Mr. Half Night for more horror stories at